This is the arena, and I'm Samson Oloide. It is the midweek edition of the show. Now let's start from the action you saw just before we took that break. The Eastern Conference Finals, talking about Game 1 between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. As I said earlier, the Heat won Game 1 courtesy of a 118 to 107 points victory, and it was Jimmy Butler who exploded for 41 points right there for the Heat, taking advantage of the Celtics. And for the Celtics, it must be said that at some point during the game, they had a 16-point advantage, but they let that slip in the third quarter where Jimmy Butler and the likes ran out, winners, contributing point. At some point, there was a 22-2 run. So the Heat scored 22 points while the Celtics had a miserable 2 points. And that's what really defined the game, the third quarter of that match itself. And the Celtics will be reviewing their missed shots, more importantly the turnovers. Jason Tatum scoring 29 points, as you can see on the screen there, but also had 7 turnovers, and that played a huge part in the Miami Heat taking the game away from them, especially in the third quarter. Beyond Jimmy Butler exploding for 41 points, you had you also had Tyler Hero and Gabe Vincent scoring 18 and 17 points respectively for the Heat, while for the Celtics is Jaylen Brown, who contributed 24 points to that of Jason Tatum, who scored 29 points. Now the Celtics were missing the Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, due to injury, a mid-foot sprain precisely, and is not yet certain he will be ready for Game 2, which will take place on Thursday. It must be said they also missed out on Al Horford, that's the veteran whose wealth of experience definitely contributes immensely to the side. But Coach Ime Udoka will have his hands full going into Game 2, which is still, at Miami right there, talking about the Heat being at home. Let's see how that pans out when it comes to the Eastern Conference Final. It's the best of 7 series, and the best 2 words in sports, Game 7. So you never can tell. This series can definitely get to Game 7, but it's the Heat with the advantage, having won Game 1. Let's see how that pans out. Now let's delve into the business aspect of it, talking about bringing you sports business news. Let's start from football. Paris Saint-Germain superstar Lionel Messi had reportedly agreed to acquire a 35% stake in MLS club Inter Miami Football Club and join the team as a player in 2023. But the news is completely false, and this is according to his agent. Messi would have joined an ownership group that includes football legend David Beckham and Cuban-American businessmen Jorge and Jose Mas. Inter Miami was valued at between $600 million and $650 million in 2021 after the Mas brothers increased their stake by buying a 48% share from tech entrepreneur Marcelo Claure and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son. A 35% stake in Inter Miami is estimated to be worth more than $200 million. Messi, bringing his talents to Miami, would have followed the 34-year-old signing a 2-year $41 million deal with Paris Saint-Germain in August 2021. The deal included bonuses, a 3rd-year option, and a reported $30 million signing bonus. Now, still talking sports business news at this time, Barcelona is reportedly making major moves to dig itself out of the $1.57 billion in debt it revealed last year and the fact that it was technically bankrupt. The club hopes to use new funds for signings and to help its balance sheet at the end of June. The roughly $420 million it's seeking would come from two deals. The club is looking to offer up 49% of Barca licensing and merchandising to Fanatics and Invest Industrial, while the funds will be distributed throughout a decade-long period. The team is also auctioning off 49% of Barca Studios. Barcelona has been looking to sell part of Barca Studios since at least October of 2021. In March, Barca reportedly signed a lucrative partnership with Spotify that included naming rights for Camp Nou and kit sponsorships. Last year, members voted for a $1.69 billion renovation plan for Camp Nou, which the club estimates will eventually pay out $225.7 million in revenue each year. Now, finally, when it comes to sports business news, the German Football League DFL has awarded licenses worth in excesses of 170 million euros for stickers, trading cards, and non-fungible tokens (NFTs) to 3 companies, an increase of 280% on its previous deals. Starting from the 2023-2024 season, digital football platform OneFootball will be an official partner of the Bundesliga and have the right to create digital trading cards and video moments (NFTs) that can be collected, traded, and sold on its area marketplace. Meanwhile, Sorare will also have exclusive rights to use NFTs based on Bundesliga players in a blockchain fantasy game, extending an initial 2-year deal agreed last October, while Tops gains the right to create physical digital stickers and trading card game as well as NFT equivalents. All 3 NFT-related deals will last for 2 years through the 2024-2025 season, with Tops' physical deal lasting until 2028-2029. Meanwhile, the partnership marks an evolution in the Bundesliga's nascent NFT strategy and provides additional revenues for clubs across its 2 divisions as well. Still talking football now, let's start from the home front. We have the Under-20 Waffle Cup ongoing at this time, and that's a competition that will determine, the Under-20 African Cup of Nations representatives. The Flying Eagles of Nigeria, that's the Under-20 team, were in action yesterday against their Ivory Coast counterparts, and what a match it was. We took the lead early on, with Daniel Daga getting us the lead within the first 15 minutes of the match, but we're pegged back by a late equalizer from Ivory Coast, making it 1-1. The game went into extra time, and we had Ibrahim Yahaya, keeping his cool and his nerve to be able to slot in from 12 yards to give the Flying Eagles a 2-1 win in the semi-final of the ongoing Waffle Cup. As a result of getting into the finals, the Flying Eagles have now clinched one of the 2 tickets available, from the Waffle region to be able to play in next year's African Cup of Nations. That's the Under-20 African Cup of Nations that will take place in Egypt. It must be said that the Under-20 Waffle Cup that is ongoing is hosted by Niger Republic, and we played in Niamey yesterday. So the Flying Eagles have clinched the ticket to Egypt 2023, talking about the Under-20 African Cup of Nations. The other semi-final we had was Benin Republic getting the better of Burkina Faso. That also ended with the same scoreline, 2-1 in favor of Benin Republic. So in the final, the did I say Super Eagles? The Flying Eagles, rather, will be playing their Benin Republican counterparts, and let's see how that pans out. We wish Ladan Boso the very best, Ladan Boso and the technical crew. Still talking national football now, let's talk about the women. Yes, the Super Falcons are gearing up for their title defense when it comes to the African Women's Cup of Nations. Remember, we had the AFCON, which is for the men. The women is the African Women's Cup of Nations, a tournament that will be taking place in July. And training camp is on right now. The latest about the Super Falcons is top coach Randy Waldrum has invited 32 players to the training camp, and the camp is set to open on the 18th of June, with the players expected to arrive latest on the 17th of June. And there you have the list of the players invited on your screen. The regular suspects are there: your Asesa Oshoala, Chiamaka Nadozie, the goalkeeper. You have, Opayemi Sunday as well in the mix. The biggest one has to be the return of Alimatu Ayinde, who is returning to the Super Falcons squad after over a year with injury. And it will be interesting to see how she fares. It must be said the Super Falcons missed her energy and tenacity right there in the middle of the park, as more often than not, the captain herself was always exposed because Alimatu Ayinde wasn't there. She's been out for over a year with injury. It's yet to be seen if she will be fit enough to make the squad to prosecute the African Women's Cup of Nations taking place in Morocco. Morocco is the host nation. The tournament is from the 2nd to the 23rd of July. That's when the Super Falcons will be gunning for yet another title. But as I said earlier, training camp begins on the 18th of June. So the players are expected to arrive camp latest on the 17th of June. We wish them the very best in that regard. We're still talking domestic football. Let's talk about the Nigerian Professional Football League. More often than not, in time past, we've complained about the lack of sponsors sponsoring the league, especially sponsors in name, not in paper. And the latest about that is that the NFF has been able to sign a multi-year deal with a certain tech and crypto company named BitNob. And the terms, the financial terms of the deal are not disclosed, but the NFF has described Bitnob as an elite sponsor of the Nigerian Professional Football League, and you can be rest assured that that deal is worth over the course of 3 years. The amount we do not know, but considering the tag elite sponsor, we want to have the feeling that it comes with, you know, several zeros at the back of it. Again, we need all of these sponsors to enable the league thrive, especially economically, and to make it more commercially viable. And that's what the NFF is trying to do. You had the NFF president, Amadio Pinnick, saying that when they came on board, football was 100% run by the government, but as it stands, it's only 20% run by the government, as 80% is now being shouldered by various corporate sponsors and brands here and there. And then when you check out the, you know, the tenure, you have to acknowledge that truly this current administration have tried in trying to get sponsors to sponsor our football at various categories and level, both domestic and national team, you know, national teams as well. For the LMC chairman, that's the second vice president, Sheo Diko, he said this is a step in the right direction, and he talked about, you know, the scrapping of title sponsor, which they did some time ago, and the criticism that came with it. He said it was to enable, you know, the league have numerous sponsors, and with Bitnob on board, that's from the, you know, tech angle. So let's see how that pans out. It's a very good development, it must be said. Now let's, as we hit, you know, home stretch on the show today, let's talk about the Premier League. We had Premier League action yesterday. Liverpool against Southampton at St. Mary's Stadium. It was all to play for Liverpool. It was win or bust when it comes to the Premier League title, and win Jurgen Klopp's men did. In fact, they're unbeaten in the year 2022, and, you know, surprisingly, we are in May. It shows you how amazing this team is. They fell behind with the Nathan Redmond strike, which was well taken, but the Liverpool fight, the mentality monsters tag that Jurgen Klopp has ascribed to this team, was on display once again, as they were able to come back. Tikano Minamino getting the goal there, while you also had Joel Matip scoring the winner later in the second half. Liverpool closing the gap to 1 point of City, although their destiny isn't in their hands, talking about the Premier League title. But for the team that have done the double, they will be banking on former Liverpool stars to do them the honours. Going into the last day of the Premier League season, you have Liverpool at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and you have Manchester City against Aston Villa at the Etihad Stadium. So the two title rivals will be playing at home on the final day. But they'll be banking on Steven Gerrard, their icon, who is now coaching Aston Villa, as well as Philippe Coutinho, to do them the honours of either beating or at least drawing against Manchester City for them to win the title. Remember, Jurgen Klopp's men are going for the quadruple, which is the elusive 4-title stint that no English club has been able to achieve within a single season. They've won 2 of those titles. The FA Cup and the Carabao Cup are in the bag. The Premier League is not in their hands, but they still have a shot at it, while the UEFA Champions League, they're in the final and will be taking on Real Madrid in 10 days from now. May 28th is the date precisely. Let's see if Jurgen Klopp's men, over the course of the next 10 days, can do the unthinkable or the unachievable, as it were. If they do that, they will definitely get their names etched in the history books as the only team and the first team to be able to achieve that quadruple. It will be astonishing, really. Now, let's wrap up the show with Europa League, which is the big one we have tonight. The Europa League final is taking place tonight. Remember, I said the UEFA Champions League is on the 28th of May. You have the Europa Conference League on the 25th of May, and that will be taking place in Tirana in Albania. But talking about the Europa League, it's tonight, and it's Rangers against Frankfurt. For Frankfurt, it's been a stunning ride, from knocking out Barcelona in the quarterfinals to being able to get the job done, to getting the job done rather against West Ham United in the semifinals. While for Rangers, they also have the stint to make things happen. Let's see how it goes. It's difficult to call the shot, but I wish the two teams the very best, and whoever wins this will think it's a well-deserved trophy, and indeed, it will be a well-deserved trophy.